How did a 500-year-old Spanish castle end up in the heart of Manhattan? Hi everyone, Ken here. Today we are uncovering the Blumenthal Mansion. Make sure to hit that like button to let YouTube know you appreciate historic architecture, and let's begin exploring this house. In the late 1800s, George Blumenthal moved to the US from Germany to work for Spire & Company as a banker. Quickly, however, he sought out new opportunities. He went to work for Lazard Frères, an international investment banking and asset management firm, and in no time at all, he was heading the company's US branch from New York City. During this time, he amassed a fortune and began building palatial residences around Manhattan. His first notable mansion was at 23 West 53rd Street. He hired renowned Gilded Age architect Richard Morris Hunt to design for him a Beaux-Arts-style residence to compete directly with the likes of the Vanderbilts who lived nearby. Completed in 1904, George would only call this palatial residence his home for a short 12 years. Meanwhile, his fortune continued to grow and his taste became more refined. George began collecting art and cultural artifacts, so much in fact that he needed a bigger house to display his collection. He purchased a lot at 50 East 70th Street and tasked architects Trowbridge and Livingston with their most challenging commission yet. George's largest artifact was too large to fit in a room, so it needed to become a room in and of itself. He had acquired an entire castle's courtyard known as the patio from the Castillo de Velez Blanco, originally built in Andalusia and completed in 1515. The castle's patio was carefully dismantled and shipped to Manhattan, where the architects worked diligently to create a cohesive mansion that seamlessly blended the old with the new. After years of careful planning, with artists working around the clock, in 1916, the Blumenthal residence was ready for George and his wife to move in. Heading inside, we arrive in the entrance hall, constructed entirely with limestone blocks. From pilasters marking the corners to groin vaults decorated with intricately carved ribs, the entrance hall served as a preface for the patio straight ahead. If we were visiting as guests, we would be ushered into either the ladies' or the men's reception rooms, but we're here to explore. Swinging open the iron grates in the entrance hall, we pass below an elaborate door surround, the first bit of architectural salvage from the castle. This brings us to the gallery, flanked by an arcade half a millennia old. As we look around, we see the patio soaring beyond. Let's continue forward to see the true extent of the architect's undertaking. Here we find the 16th century patio completely reassembled and integrated into the mansion. The castle's windows have been reversed so that their exterior faces hang on interior walls, and all about this colossal space, 16th century furnishings were brought in to complement the salvaged architecture. We'll have a chance to see more of the patio in a little while, but for now we'll continue exploring. Let's follow the gallery down to its far end and head through the double doors. This brings us to the ballroom, which stretches over 70 feet from the front to the back of the mansion. We can imagine members of New York's high society mingling here all throughout the 1920s. Stepping back into the gallery, we'll begin approaching the first grand staircase, turning to the right just before we get there. This leads us into the formal dining room, boasting salvaged stained glass windows and one of George's most prized possessions, a tapestry which once belonged to King Charlemagne. In keeping with the dual themes of Spanish Renaissance Revival and Spanish Gothic Revival, the architects blended the old with the new, leaving only the most discerning eye to distinguish their work from the work of artists hundreds of years prior. Now that we've seen most of the first floor, we can begin making our way up the 16th century staircase to the second floor. Before we explore the upper gallery and look out over the patio, we'll take the door on the right. Here we discover the library facing the front of the house and topped by ribbed groin vaults soaring overhead. Once again, this room is used more as a means for displaying George's collection of centuries-old European antiques rather than a space of functional use. Though if we look closely, behind his artifacts we will find a handful of rare books set in the corners, such as this bookshelf which doubles as a secret passageway to the family dining room, which we will see momentarily. Stepping back out into the upper gallery, we have a chance to see some of the more intricate details of the castle's window surrounds, and above us, the coffered ceiling's intricate relief work almost disappears into the shadows. As eye-catching as this all may be, we still haven't turned around yet. Behind us is the second grand staircase, the landing of which contains the secret passageway from the library. Let's just take a moment here to absorb and appreciate the tiny details which make the staircase so grand. To the other side of the staircase, we find the family dining room behind closed doors. This is where George and his wife would dine while not entertaining. The far end of the upper gallery feeds into the Italian Renaissance salon, or more practically, the drawing room. The stone block walls here are covered over in thick fabric to be reminiscent of an Italian Renaissance castle, and if we follow the minimally ornamented coffered wood ceiling towards the end of this room, we'll find a pair of double doors leading to the study. Instead of working from the library, which was mostly for show, George would sequester himself in his study where electric lights and modern office supplies wouldn't run the aesthetic he was going for. Nonetheless, his study still included hand-stenciled ceiling beams, stained glass windows, and a cozy fireplace alcove. Now that we've explored the public rooms in the house, let's return to the second staircase and make our way up to the third floor. Even though guests would not have ventured this far up in the house, the private quarters of Mr. and Mrs. Blumenthal were finished out just as well as the rest of the house. As we make our way down the third floor corridor, admiring floor-to-ceiling wood paneling, we will begin exploring the bedrooms. First we find George's bedroom, boasting an unassuming elegance, with a daybed and photos of his family members cluttering each surface. Then we'll venture into Mrs. Blumenthal's suite, which is one of the most lavish we have seen so far on this channel. Her suite is more akin to a private apartment, with a series of rooms including the sitting room. Her two-story boudoir extends into the attic, where we can imagine her maid flying up and down the stairs several times per day for each outfit change. Continuing further into the suite, we find her bathroom finished from floor to ceiling with inlaid marble and gilded accents. Opposite the vanity, her bathtub was carved from a single block of marble and custom fit for her comfort. George lived out the rest of his life here until his passing in 1941. Before he died, however, he realized that his house would most likely be torn down and replaced by a skyscraper, as had been the trend for decades. To ensure that his prized possession, the patio, would not be lost to a landfill, he left $1 million for the Metropolitan Museum of Art to salvage and reconstruct the patio to preserve it for future generations. Thanks to his foresight, when the mansion was demolished, the museum was able to save the patio and reassemble it with the money he left them. Today, visitors to the Metropolitan Museum of Art still continue to enjoy the remnants of a 500-year-old castle in the middle of Manhattan. Which part of the Blumenthal residence was your favorite? Let me know down below in the comments section, and while you're there, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an exciting episode of This House.